This administration is shameful. Y'all are a disgrace.
We're watching the fall of this administration.
What I think is interesting about this case, this story, is you can be highly legal and unethical at the same time.
It's no secret that Dalton, Illinois, has become a hotbed of local trauma, and the most recent confrontation between Mayor Tiffany Henyard and reliable Kiana Biller is giving everyone a lot to talk about. This isn't your average small-town government story. Rather, it's a full-fledged saga of accusations, power struggles, and intense debate. And let's be honest, who doesn't enjoy a good political debate? But at its heart is a real accountability issue. Trustee Cobb Beller has made it her mission to raise concerns about what many perceive to be Mayor Henyard's lack of transparency, and Dalton's board meetings are anything but quiet.
In a room filled with curiosity and concern, Tiffany Henyard addressed her constituents.
The Thornton Township Supervisor and Dalton Mayor invited the community to Township Talk, where she responded to our report about her use of the township credit card by mentioning travel expenses.
Let's get the scenario started. Kiana Baylor is a trustee. One of the board's more vocal members has been focusing intently on the village's finances, particularly concerning dubious spending. Additionally, Mayor Henyard's leadership style has been characterized as unconventional, and he has been accused of mismanaging funds, overspending, and even purposefully obstructing paper trails to evade scrutiny. It's the kind of situation that makes you wonder if these officials are. Tensions reached a breaking point during a recent meeting when the topic of inauguration expenses was brought up. The village had reportedly covered the cost of Henyard's inauguration, and Beer wasn't going to let it go without asking some pointed questions, such as whether we were at a set dollar amount or not. Her tone was sharp but professional, and the room fell silent for a moment before the village attorney intervened to clarify that the expenses were. Beer was quick to point out how easily the system could be manipulated, so that explanation didn't sit well with him. The attorney also claimed that the expenses didn't require prior board approval, because they fell under a special event fund already budgeted for such occasions, as long as no single invoice exceeded $5,000. The event invoices have been strategically split into smaller amounts, each under $5,000, a tactic that allowed the expenses to avoid the need for board approval. Endorsement in response to a question regarding this, the lawyer admitted that although individual invoices under $5,000 could be spent without prior approval, the board could still approve them retroactively. Beer was unwilling to overlook this obvious flaw, so she voted against the motion, retaining her position that the procedure seemed opaque.
There will be no comments, there won't be anything, it will just be me addressing you guys to tell you what's going on.
Yet, Henyard defended the practice, claiming that the costs were within the allocated budget and brushing off dealers' objections as needless drama. She also suggested that concerns could have been discussed privately instead of at the public meeting. This preference for resolving conflicts behind closed doors has been a consistent strategy for Henyard, with the goal of avoid exposing internal conflicts to the public. Nevertheless, Beer remains steadfast in her emphasis on the value of candid communication and openness, contending that trustees have an obligation to inquire about and guarantee accountability for decisions that are made in front of him. The audience responded favorably to her statement, which increased the tension in the room and sparked murmurs of agreement.
But the administration can adhere to some financial limits. We're not looking to necessarily...
Henyard has been accused of breaking the rules before. Critics have cited her history of dubious spending, which includes tens of thousands of unreported purchases, extravagant trips paid for by taxpayers, and a history of authorizing expenses without adequate oversight, not to mention the ongoing federal investigation into her office. However, what really gets people talking is her propensity to brush off criticism as personal attacks. Referred to Jesus Christ, Henyard once compared herself to a martyr in a previous meeting, asking why she wouldn't think they would treat me the same way. The true problem, though, appears to be Henyard's approach to governance, or lack thereof. For many residents, the inauguration costs are only the tip of the iceberg. The core of the issue is a budget process that feels anything but transparent. During the same meeting, Baylor raised concerns about the overall budget that had been presented. We received it at 3:26 p.m., but there was not enough time for a comprehensive review. She stated with obvious frustration that the inhabitants haven't even had a chance to view it, and now we're supposed to make a well-informed choice. She demanded a more thorough, itemized budget analysis, comparable to what had been done in previous years, but Henyard appeared more concerned with advancing the process than with resolving those issues.
Tonight, community concerns in Thornton Township and a push to regulate what some call out-of-control spending by Township Supervisor and
This change in Henyard's behavior is especially startling to those who have been following Dalton politics for a long time. When she was a trustee, she was known for being meticulous and insisted on going over every budget line item, questioning even the smallest discrepancies and asking why it was so low. She once inquired about a budget line for tree trimming, saying, "I understand we're doing cuts, but I get a ton of complaints about trees. I think that amount should stay where it is." She even argued for raising the funding for tree care, demonstrating her intense interest in the specifics. But fast forward to the present, and that same degree of examination is absent. The drama didn't end there, though. Her detractors have pointed out the obvious double standard, a topic that has been circulating for months. The village's credit card controversy was also discussed at the conference. Although the finance director stated that the cards had been canceled last year, Baylor wasn't persuaded and questioned why they were still in use. The room became tense as Henyard accused him and another trustee of taking over the village's bank accounts. Beer swiftly denied this accusation with evidence, citing emails from the bank that showed that it was Henyard's own team, not the trustees, who had access to the accounts. She asked about electronic warrant lists displaying the charges. Henyard appeared to benefit only one individual from the story of blockage and uncertainty.
There were many tense moments in tonight's meeting. At times, Supervisor Tiffany Henyard took on her fellow trustees when it came to money and expenses, even accusing some of them of spreading lies about her.
The most noticeable aspect of these meetings is the increasing distance between Henyard and the other trustees. While Baylor and her colleagues advocate for openness and cooperation, Henyard seems to be strengthening her power by reminding the board that they don't manage day-to-day operations in a tactful manner, asserting her authority. But her harsh methods have only reinforced the idea that she is more concerned with gaining more power than helping the people of Dalton. As a result, residents are becoming irritated with the lack of advancement and the never-ending political squabbling, and they are starting to voice their frustration that the real business isn't getting done because of all this bullshit. One resident, Daryl, as the village faces a financial deficit in the millions, Lean told reporters, "We need action, somebody who's actually going to work for the people, not themselves." Many people agree with this sentiment. Critics claim that her leadership has only made the situation worse by pointing to her extravagant spending and incapacity to promote cooperation within the board.
Y'all thought that I was young, dumb, didn't know nothing, was gonna let y'all come and manipulate me. I didn't do any of that. So because I didn't do any of that, you guys started this whole smear.
The sheer audacity of it all. Henyard, who once took pride in her efforts to fight for accountability and transparency, now seems to be doing everything in her power to avoid it. Although Baylor's perseverance has won her praise from some, it has also made her a target. Henyard has repeatedly attempted to discredit her, accusing her of causing needless drama and undermining the board's unity. But Baylor isn't backing down. As the meeting came to an end, it was evident that the tension between Beer and Henyard isn't going away anytime soon. Signify posing future plans for Dalton and their conflict have come to represent the deep divisions in the village. For Beer, the battle is about reestablishing accountability and trust, while for Henyard, it's about retaining power in the face of growing criticism. For the residents of Dalton, it's just another chapter in a lengthy and messy tale of local politics gone wrong. But here's the crucial question. Will the village inevitably make the same mistakes again? Or can Dalton withstand this leadership crisis? There's no doubt that we will hear more about Mayor Tiffany Henyard and Reliable Cabell. Hold on tight because the political drama in Dalton, Illinois is far from over. However, Just when you think it can't get any messier, Trustee Kiana Beller and Mayor Tiffany Henyard might as well be starring in their own reality show right now. The level of chaos that is occurring in these board meetings is unmatched, but what's really crazy is how the conflicts are exposing deeper issues of seemingly unchecked power, financial mismanagement, and the constant battle for control.
You're out of order. You're out of order. How do they operate, Trustee?
Let's go back a little to one of the more impressive moments from a recent face-off. It all began when the topic of payroll transparency was raised. You would think that something would be simple, as giving trustees payroll data would be obvious, but that isn't the case in Dolton. The finance department at Baylor and another trustee, Jason House, disclosed that they had been frequently denied access to fundamental financial documents that they require in order to make well-informed judgments. She was clearly frustrated because the government had explicitly stated that they couldn't disclose the reports without consent from Henyard, which we've been requesting for months. How can we make decisions for this village if we can't see where the money is going? Henyard, of course, denied everything. I've never told anyone not to share payroll reports, she said in a frustrated tone. Why would I need to approve something like that? That's just not true. But the worst part is that the biller wasn't buying it, and she arrived ready. She opened emails demonstrating that the finance director had, in fact, given the mayor's orders as justification for not releasing the reports. For a little period, the audience's collective gasp could almost be heard in the quiet chamber. Henyard, however, dismissed it as a misunderstanding, asserting that the finance team must have misunderstood her instructions for convenience.
Be on the general election ballot despite an attempt to block her candidacy by an ally of current Mayor Tiffany Henyard, who is running for reelection.
But hold on. It gets better or worse depending on your perspective. The conflict surrounding payroll access is only one aspect of a much bigger picture. Henyard is alleged to have fostered a culture of secrecy in her administration, which goes far beyond payroll. For instance, the village's financial mishap during the same gathering. Beer asked why the board hadn't seen any credit card statements since May of last year. If we're paying these bills, we need to see what we're actually approving, she said, and she's got a point. How can anyone approve charges they haven't even seen for themselves?
Thornton Township Supervisor Tiffany Henyard is finding a way to spend money that trustees say they intentionally did not approve, one describing it to me.
In response, Henry used a combination of denial and evasive language to claim that the village was no longer using the credit cards and that they had been canceled months prior. Henyard denied any misconduct, but Baylor wanted proof, asking why final statements were not given and why charges were still listed on the warrant list, and accused Beer in the House of being too dramatic and stirring up needless controversy. Later emails from the bank showed that Henyard's team still had complete access to the accounts, directly contradicting her claims. The situation was like a plot twist in a thriller, only it was real life, with Dolton taxpayers caught in the middle.
She's one of the most recognizable faces that's been on the news lately. I'm talking about the mayor of Dolton, Tiffany Henyard.
And all of social media.
Yes.
And while we're talking about taxpayers, let's consider the wider picture. One voter said after the meeting, how about they actually fix something for once? This sentiment is shared by many in the community, especially as the village's financial woes continue to worsen and the Henyard administration faces challenges. Dolton is currently facing a financial crisis with a deficit reaching the millions, but instead of focusing on solutions, the board seems to spend most of its time locked in these endless power struggles. Residents are understandably fed up as we suffer while they argue over nonsense. Many residents have expressed their frustration with the alleged misuse of public funds for personal luxuries, claiming that tens of thousands of dollars have been spent on dubious items like frivolous Amazon purchases, as one trustee described. Additionally, her inauguration expenses, which she claims were meant for the people, are widely viewed as extravagant and self-serving. Some residents have even compared the misuse of funds to treating the village's finances as a personal piggy bank.
It's a little bit of both. A little bit of both.
Wow.
Let's talk about the title of this, because it's called Super Mayor, and that is what Tiffany Henyard calls herself.
Although Henyard has denied these accusations, calling the criticism a smear campaign by her political rivals, she has presented the attacks as an attempt to weaken her authority as a strong woman in power. However, this narrative is called into question by the fact that many of her critics, including Baylor, are also women who have been outspoken in calling for accountability. Baylor's strategy is very different from Henyard's, who is renowned for her dedication to openness. Baylor has continuously raised tough issues and demonstrated that he is prepared to challenge the mayor, even if doing so could have negative political effects. Due to her perseverance, she has gained the admiration of many Dolton locals who are ready for change, with some describing her as one of the few people who actually fight for the interests of the town.
Surprised you how much the viewership has gravitated towards this woman.
At a recent public event, a supporter referred to Henyard as a trailblazer who is targeted for questioning the status quo. Despite this, she still has a base of devoted supporters who see her as a trailblazing leader who faces unfair opposition. During her tenure, she has also implemented projects to improve Dolton's infrastructure, but critics contend that these efforts have been overshadowed by her scandals. Managing one of the most telling moments in this ongoing story occurred near the end of the meeting when Beer gave a harsh critique of Henyard's leadership. She said, "This isn't about personal attacks. This is about doing what's right for the people of Dolton. We're not here to serve ourselves. We're here to serve them." The audience applauded, but Henyard appeared unflappable. "I'm doing my job," she shot back. "Perhaps you should concentrate on." The dynamic between these two women is summed up in that sentence. On one side, you have Henyard, the embattled mayor, who sees every criticism as a challenge to her authority. And on the other, you have Barrere, the relentless watchdog, who refuses to back down. It's a battle of wills, and neither of them seems willing to give in. The question is how long this can continue before Dolton itself begins to collapse under the weight of their conflict. When the meeting was adjourned, the tension in the room was evident, but outside, locals were vehemently arguing over who was truly to blame for the village's issues. Henyard was blamed by some for corruption and ineptitude, while others defended her, saying that a board that is unable to work with her is unfairly targeting her. Still, others were worn out by the controversy.
Manipulation. Nobody likes being manipulated, and when you get here, you know that's exactly what's happening.
However, here's the thing. The drama that is playing out in this small Illinois village is not just about Dolton. It is a microcosm of larger problems that local governments nationwide are facing. It is about accountability, transparency, and the delicate balance of power. While the specifics may vary, the underlying themes are all too familiar. It is a tale of ambition, rivalry, and the struggle to do the right thing even when everything seems to be against you as the political storm continues to brew in Dolton. In Illinois, one can't help but ask if Mayor Tiffany Henyard's management style is actually helping the village or if a change is needed. What about Trustee unwavering quest for transparency? Is it a good cause or a disruptive one? Power in the comments section below. Viewers are invited to express their opinions and views. Please remember to leave a comment and let everyone know your position on this contentious issue. Until the next time, check back for additional updates on this captivating story. Until we meet again, thanks for watching Visual Vortex.